All right, so if you have some hunts coming up, we get a lot of questions all the time on how to take care of your meat once you get out of the mountains and get it to your truck. So what I'm gonna walk through right now is the method I use to basically pre-cool a cooler, all the ice that I use when I'm heading out on a hunt, because I'm really cheap. So I like to not buy ice and use jugs and that sort of thing. So I'm just gonna walk through what I do if I'm gonna go on a hunt right now and take a bunch of coolers. Usually have an assortment of Yetis in the back of my truck. All will have this ice set up in there. That way, when I kill an animal and get it out, there's actually ice still in my cooler. You know, I could be hours away from a town or whatever. And so this is just the method I use to ensure that meat that I love is taken care for properly once I get out of the mountain. So I live in Las Vegas, it's hot out. So I will take a cooler, take it out of my garage and bring it to my house the night before. That's essential for me because that's gonna start to pre-cool it. I will also take some extra jugs I have. These are all just, you know, water jugs, you can use milk jugs, whatever, and set them in the cooler the night before to sort of like pre-cool the inside. And then I take those out and actually put fresh ones in. So let's assume right now I've already pre-cooled the cooler and we'll just walk through the process. Like I said, I'm cheap. These things are, you know, a couple bucks to buy some water jugs and then freeze them. And the biggest benefit I have too about using a bunch of these like, you know, water bottles, water jugs, once I get back from a hunt, you're always gonna need a cold drink. And so then I can turn around and drink this as well. So that's why I love using these. You can use block ice. It's very hard to get block ice. It seems like in some of these bigger cities, some more smaller towns when you're out hunting, you can get block ice. If you are traveling and you want to get block ice when you're on the road, I would suggest block ice rather than crushed ice because block ice usually, you know, holds its cold temperatures and actually doesn't melt as fast. And then the other big benefit too of using these water jugs is they don't leak water out. So when I'm trying to take, you know, I'm trying to keep everything cool in there, or if I have my, you know, my meat, my quarters already in there and I'm driving back home, I'm not gonna have water leaking on my meat. I don't wanna have water leaking on the meat. Yeah, you can always stop and drain it out, but I don't like doing that. So water jugs have a lot of benefits, like I said. Cheap, you can drink the water afterwards and they're not gonna leak water over your meat. So I just grab, like this, we have a Yeti 75 here. Just gonna grab and put a bunch of water jugs on the bottom. It's nice when they fit, but if they don't, no worries. We're trying to stack them all in here as best we can. And then now we have just these smaller drinking water bottles. And I'm just basically trying to fill up all the voids, all the little spaces. That way I don't have pockets of air, because pockets of air add things to, you know, kind of promote some of that melting stuff. So I want to try to fill this as full as I can. Obviously, I could stack this a lot better, but for demonstration purposes, we're just going to load all this stuff up. That's probably pretty decent right there. And again, another big tip too, do this on the tailgate of your pickup, because if I'm by myself, yeah, I could lift it up, but who wants to throw their back out or injure themselves right before they're gonna go hunting? Obviously, if you have a friend, it's gonna be easier, but put it in the back of your truck already and then load this up. So once this is all loaded up, you know, obviously I could close it. But one thing I also like to do is, again, I always talk about trying to remove airspace out of the coolers. So I'll take some of these just super old towels that I have sitting around the house, throw it in the freezer. I mean, you probably could like soak it and freeze it, but then it's gonna be hard to fit in here. So all I'm trying to do is set this on top to, again, take up more of that airspace, because that airspace is gonna promote that ice to melt a little bit. So this towel will be in the freezer, just dry like this, so it's gonna be cooler. And then that way when I close it, I'm removing all that air. So it's pretty simple. Another thing I might want to do is, you know, if I have a tonneau cover or something in the back of my truck, I might want to throw that back. That way it's not going to get beat up with a bunch of sun while I'm driving out there, and then heat up the cooler, which then will, you know, melt some of your ice in there. Or you could put it inside your cab or your pickup, whatever you want to do. Another thing I like doing, any sort of, this is a really old hopper, probably should have grabbed one of the new ones, but I'll throw some Yeti ice in a hopper, and that way I can also put some, you know, random drinks and that sort of thing in here to keep cool when I get back. That way I have some electrolytes ready to go when I come back out. Hit a trailhead, might need to, you know, move around different hunting spots, so I'll throw Yeti ice in here. Or you could take your Yeti ice and throw it in there, but this thing fits really well. Lock that all in there, and away you go. So, process does not have to be complicated. Like I said, you can use block ice, you can use crushed ice. I prefer not to use crushed ice and use these jugs, and then pre-cooler cooler like this is gonna help, you know, get that meat perfectly once you leave the mountains, get to your truck, make that long drive home. Now while I'm driving home, obviously I have multiple coolers. You know, I'm going to be moving ice around as need be and resupplying some ice at some random gas stations along the way. So hopefully this will help you out when you're on your next hunting adventure. And like I said, it's really easy to do. Take a few of these steps, but I think once you do this, you'll start to realize, hey, it's a little habit. It's a great essential tip to you know, keep your coolers cool, then have all this ice ready to go so that when you kill an animal, it goes right in here and your meat's gonna be taken care of. So, got any questions, drop them in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Pretty simple process, like I said, but end result is gonna be key to getting your meat home perfectly.